Hello, good morning. I'm so excited to be here with you guys again. As you know, I love my Monday mornings. But today, I thought we're going to talk about that healing journey, that progress that we make on when we're having that inner growth. And what I want to share is mostly from my own experience healing my complex PTSD or my trauma there, but also what I learned in the last couple of decades studying at university levels, how trauma can impact our brain as well, our nervous system, our gut, our immune system. It just affects us in so many different ways. And as you know, since 2016, I also run a lot of support groups locally, but also internationally, the Thriveroo Community. So I get to talk to people from all around the world and my one-on-one clients. So talking to so many people, I realized that we can kind of lump it into four kind of categories, four basket, if you like, okay? So I don't really like doing that. So we're using this very lightly. But when you're knowing what kind of basket you more fall into or what kind of category, that will help you identify what kind of practices or tools or approaches are most effective for you. Okay, because that's really important, isn't it? Because there's nothing more frustrating than putting the time and effort and energy into trying something out and then it just does nothing. It might even make your symptoms, whatever you're working on, worse. You might be more hypervigilant or something like that. Okay, so I want to share them with you, how I define them, what they are, and then you might find yourself or identify where am I at along this line. So it's a bit of a continuum. It's not so stuck. So the four categories that I think there are is crisis, wobble. Yeah, and the wobble, a lot of people who actually, what I feel are in the wobble, call themselves like they're in crisis, but there's a big difference between the two, and I will talk about that too. Then there's thrive, right? But so many of you think we're going from surviving to thriving, and that's it. But as I was working with so many people and talking to so many people, I realized, there's actually another level after that. There's a whole different kind of quality. A level of mastery there as well. Okay, so let's dive into that. So as I said, it's like a continuum. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, but we know that our healing journey doesn't work like it is, right? It's like a roller coaster, and many times it felt like it's a roller coaster in the dark, going backwards, by the way. But did you feel like that too? Let me know in the comments, because it was just so intense at times. Okay. I think the most intense part is when we're in that crisis. Okay? So crisis is the time where we need the most professional help, because that is when our brain's really not functioning. I always said it's like fireworks going off in all different directions, as in my thoughts going off in all different directions. I can't add up the dots between the thoughts. I walk out of the therapy session, I can no longer remember what we talked about or what we did. When someone teaches you a grounding exercise, but you cannot remember it. No, but this is the time where we need the most support, where we literally need another person to talk us through step by step by step, over and over and over again. So we need a therapist in that phase who is extremely patient to do that for us, to help us regulate that nervous system again. Okay, and that when we're having those really intense emotions as well, and like every emotion that you feel goes extreme, not just the anger that might go into rage, or you feel really furious, that feeling resentful or jealous, and with a shame and guilt and that anxiety and panicky. But we have those at the really extreme kind of levels. But on the flip side, you might just shut down and then you're going to be really numb. And you might feel like you're a robot going through the motions, right? So this is what kind of happens in the crisis phase, that we need a lot of support. It almost feels like something magical needs to happen to get you out of there. Some angel come along, please, and rescue me. Okay, it just... In that phase, you cannot see your future ever getting any better. It's just not available. That thought is not there. You feel fundamentally flawed and broken. Nothing's ever going to change for you. Okay, that's very characteristic for that crisis phase. compare this to the wobbles, okay? But I said, in that phase, you might also feel like stuck and not, things aren't really working. One day you try it, practice, and it works. The next day it doesn't. It's this up and down. But there are those glimmers of hope, right? There's glimmers of hope. So, oh, what if things can get better for me too? You've met some other people in the, I don't know, whether you go in healing weeks or in those group supports or at hospital or wherever. You met some people and said, oh, they did get better. But some people did get better. So there's glimmers of hope there. But your brain is still, it's so difficult to concentrate, to focus, to memorize. When I was going to uni, it was so difficult to study for exams, writing assignments. I made so many mistakes, and not just for uni, at work as well. Okay, so that mental capacity is still, it takes a lot of effort. It's so frustrating. How about you? I used to find that so frustrating because I thought I was trying so hard, right? Like you're going to therapy, you're doing the practices and things like that. And it just doesn't seem to get that much better. Another difference between the wobble and the crisis is, like I said, in the crisis you need someone else to talk you through step by step by step. In the wobble phase, you're actually out there and you're watching YouTube videos, maybe you watch some of mine to get some practices and tips, or you're reading books and blogs, you're talking to other people and you experiment a little bit. You can do some things by yourself, you're testing things out. Yeah. And that's quite different too. But in that phase, I feel that's where we have a lot of conflict with friends, maybe relationships, things are falling apart. Okay. On the outside, we always look the same. But one day we might cope a little bit better, the other day we might not cope so well. To our friends, that's very confusing because they can't actually pick what the heck is happening with you today, all right? And it can get a bit frustrating for them. And we constantly feel misunderstood, and they feel like, they can't never get it right for us. There's a lot of arguing, there's finger pointing, blaming and shaming and ghosting and stonewalling and, all these kind of things going on as well. And it's crumbling, the relationships are crumbling apart. And that is really difficult for us, right? Because our trauma is interpersonal trauma. So we didn't have the role models of healthy relationships and boundaries, healthy boundaries, right? Our boundaries have been violated in unspeakable ways. So that's a phase where we need to kind of learn and, okay, what am I okay with and what not? And then finding the courage to actually voice that and stand for your boundaries. Okay, so in that phase, there's a lot of that happening, but as we keep practicing, things are starting to get better. There is those moments where you might really enjoy a sunset, or perhaps a rainbow, like me. If you're like me, I'm obsessed about rainbows. Or you might have this outing with a friend or something, and you have a really good time. And so that they are there. And at the beginning, they're perhaps a little bit more short-lived, but as you kind of progress, they become more substantial. They last longer. They have them more often, right? And life seems to start to, it feels a little bit better. And that's when you kind of go into the next kind of category that I call thrive. Okay, thrive, that's quite awesome. You feel really good. It's like you're just coming out of a long, dark period, and it's like there's an enthusiasm and there's a different kind of level of energy. You're so excited. You made it, right? There's more freedom. Your relationships have a whole different quality. You have some actually friends in your life that are nurturing, so it's not only you going out there caring and being compassionate and going out of your way to please other people, right? That's what a lot of people do, that people pleasing. There's not so much of that. You still not so much of people pleasing. You do care about other people and compassion, but in that when you're in that thrive mode, you can actually let other people care about you. You can let your guard down enough to let people a little bit closer and let them touch your heart. Allow them to, let you make you feel appreciated and loved. Right? So the relationships are a lot deeper and more meaningful, and they have a whole different kind of quality. And you may have a job or something that you actually do enjoy. maybe not quite the right, but you can go there and you can have a good time. You're not stressed out or panicky or those kind of moments. The self-care has completely changed. You're really looking after your body. You're making sure you have more health, not just healthy meals and exercise, but just the way you treat yourself, the way you're giving yourself breaks and things like that has shifted too. But I must say, in this space, speaking out of experience here, because we have so much enthusiasm and there's so much energy there, because like I said, we're coming out of this dark time, we have a tendency to overdo this, especially if you're a bit like me, and I have a tendency to be a workaholic anyway, but I'm an extremely driven person. If that's you too, in that phase, there's a really high risk for us to burn out and really crush our nervous system again, right? So it's not the PTSD then, it's like we just overdid it, even knowing, like I always say, all the things that I did, I loved them. I thought that everything I did I was passionate about, but I didn't give myself enough breaks. I overdid the things that I enjoyed as well. We can do that, and sometimes we need to do both extremes to kind of find the balance in the middle. It's like, okay, I really overdid that. So just wanted to flag that this can happen in that phase as well. Okay, but then after, there's a whole other level, that level of self-mastery, right? And I think this is when you're coming out, especially because I had that burnout, I knew I had to change something, right? But the self-mastery has a whole different kind of quality to it. So it's not a destination that we get to, it's just a different feel that we strive to have in our life now. That grounded, a beautiful kind of grounded level of confidence, a different level of grace and compassion and I don't know, gratitude. It's just that a different level of calmness, right? You can be calm even if the kids just ran through the house and there's rubbish and things everywhere, but you can remain calm at work and everywhere. Like, no matter what happens on the outside, you're like the calm in the storm. You can be very centered, and it's almost like flip. Now the people actually coming to you when something happens outside, they are actually dysregulating. They're coming to you, looking and helping for, or hoping for reassurance, and hoping that you are helping people through, because they can just feel your groundedness. Okay, so you're perhaps more of a leader now, but in that phase, it's like you're consistently acting from love. Whether this is in your relationships, in your friendships, in nature, with everything, everything comes from a place of love, and there's that sense you're just at peace. Right? You're at peace with yourself, and you're at peace with your past self. And isn't that hard? I don't know about you, but for us to survive what was available, we didn't have coping mechanisms, so we created our own coping mechanisms. We were very creative and resourceful. We came up with coping mechanisms to survive all this time. But perhaps you also had coping mechanisms that actually did a lot of damage, whether this is to your body or financially, right? I was like my drinking or eating disorders or self-harming and those kind of things. I'm not proud of them. And it was years I was really beating up on myself for that. But when you get to that level of self-mastery, you can be at peace with yourself. And you can go to your younger self, and you're thinking back, it's like, oh, I get it. That was so difficult for you back then. I get it. And I know you did the best you could with what you had back then. I still love you. I'm there for you. Right? You can talk your inner child through in a whole different way. Those kind of things don't really come up. They don't destroy your days. You don't have memories coming up that destroy your days. You have, when you're looking back, you're at peace with where you were, your journey, yourself, right? Not just all about you, but you're also at peace with the world, right? Look around, what's happening right now, right? Whether it's the politics, the environment, the health, there's stuff going on. Can you still be at peace? Can you still be at a place where you can radiate peace and harmony, where you don't feel like you need to judge other people because they have different opinions about things than you do? So you can see that level has a whole different quality to it, right? And it's only because looking at so many, or talking to so many people all around the world and how they experience their healing journey, that's how I kind of grouped it. And I don't know, where did you see yourself there? Where on this continuum are you? You might feel you're in between two of those because the lines are very blurry, right? And it's not that linear kind of progress because stuff happens in life, right? But where did you see yourself? Let me know in the comments. I'm really, really curious, right? what is happening there for you? And I think, you know, as I said, when we're in this crisis, kind of, if that's where you're at right now, this is extremely important to have professional support in there. I cannot emphasize that enough, because we really need someone to talk us through step by step by step, over and over and over again, to help us ground that nervous system. Okay? And what is helping you in that phase is going to be very different compared to someone who is in Thrive, right? If someone feels a little bit triggered, even though they normally feel like they fall into that category of thriving, they can perhaps do a quick breathing exercise or a mindfulness exercise and they're fine again. If I suggest that mindfulness, the same mindfulness exercise to you when you're feeling like you're in crisis, then you probably feel like, gee, Tanya, you're very flippant, you have no idea what I'm going through, right? Because it doesn't work. Meditation when you're in crisis is physiological, not possible. Your brain just cannot do it in that phase. So it's very important to know where you're at. It helps you to communicate it better when you're asking for help, what you need, and then you can use different kind of approaches to help you on your healing journey there. So, but I also want to flag, if that's the phase you're at, then I don't actually have services, because people often reach out to me, and I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach. So in that phase, you really need to reach out to a therapist or psychologist or psychiatrist, or whoever you want to work with in your country there. But if you kind of wobbles and around above, that's where I invite you to check out the Thriveroo Community. It's like, I was so passionate about this. Yes, I did create this because I felt so lonely on my journey. Okay. And this is like a group of us. It's a small group, but we all have a lived experience of complex PTSD. So it's a very vibrant kind of group, and people are very engaged in their healing journey, very dedicated on that inner growth there. So we get together weekly just to share and what is actually happening in our life. You know, we're having some fun together, and we can celebrate each other. We can share what kind of practices we tried out and what worked and what not. So that is really a beautiful way of being on your healing journey, having other people there, having that connection, that sense of belonging, right? So I highly encourage you to check that out. But if you're kind of thinking that you might maybe Thrive self-mastery kind of level, then perhaps you want to reach out to me. It's like my one-on-one coaching program might be the right fit for you, right? So there should be links somewhere where you can apply for a call with me. That's a free call where we get together, we just have a conversation about where are you at right now in your life, right? And where would you like to be? What are your desires? What is your big mission? Where do you want to head to? And then in that conversation, we're going to figure out whether we are the right fit to work together. And only then I will share with you what my program is all about, and we can make a decision from there then. But regardless of where you're at on your healing journey, I really would like to hear from you and where you're at. So let me know in the comments down below. But as always, I'm sending you lots and lots of love and rainbows to brighten up the tough times just a little. See you guys. Bye.